Well, we are fortunate to have with us tonight the Presidential Legal Counsel and former spokesman of the President, Attorney Salvador Panelo. Attorney Panelo, good evening po, and thank you for joining us in the Chiefs.
Good evening.
Good
Hi, good
evening.
evening, Attorney Sal. How are you?
Look,
Long
Gucci.
time, ah.
Yeah.
Well,
Ano
sir,
daw?
sir,
parang
sir, obviously
ano
the
yung
palace thinks that VP Robredo is making it look like she was calling the shots while she was doing her relief efforts in Luzon, and this is what irritated the president. But she's also denying it. And can you tell us exactly what did she do that makes the palace think that she was trying to call the shots?
Well, you just read her statements. She has been releasing statements and making us believe that she is in control. She makes it
Yes, sir.
appear she's the only one working and distributing relief goods. And the president is just lying idle there.
Well, actually, sir, that's what we wanted to ask. Because that has been consistently what the palace officials have been saying. That's you and Secretary Roque, and as well the president. But can you be more specific? Because I went through the statements given by VP Robredo, and so far what I've seen was she was announcing what she was doing, and she was saying that she was coordinating with local and military officials.
Like that for coordinating. What does she mean by coordinating?
Sir, for example, one of her messages or tweets, waiting for feedback, was assured Marine rescue teams are on their way. As well, team able to get in touch with the PNP Tuguegarao. We forwarded all the compiled requests and calls for help. These are examples.
Alam mo, what she did was like I think two of the generals made comment about her calling the military, whoever, and was asking, is there help on the way? And syempre, the response is, yes, ma'am. We've been doing that. Para,
Yes, sir.
She's making it appear na she keeps on calling and, directing operations, telling them, there is
Yes, sir.
there, you go there. Hindi naman ganun eh. Tanong niya
Yes, sir.
lang,
But isn't that what we expect our officials to do, both local and national, to at least coordinate and make sure that everything is in order, that all the information needed on the ground is relayed upstairs? I mean, you also expect local officials to do the same thing.
in the first place, you don't even have to do that because days prior to the typhoon or storm or whatever disaster that is expected to come, the help, the things that should be used during those crises are already in place. Dati nang nandun eh, meron na tayong tinatawag na disaster risk reduction group to take care of that. Kumbaga, lahat ng mga sinasabi niya, nandun na lahat yun. But
Pero, sir,
Oh,
yung sa mga tweets naman niya, ang pinapublish lang naman niya yung mga relief goods na gather na nila, kung nasaan na sila. And I think that that's totally within her rights to show nga that her office is really also actively helping. But why is she now being targeted? Specifically, she's reacting to the news that you yourself have acknowledged, along with Secretary Lorenzana, to be false, no? Na she actually preloaded on the C-130. Can we talk about that? I mean, kasi yun ang talagang, that's what everybody now remembers as having been done by her, but now it appears hindi pala nangyari yun, no? Can you give your clarification on that? Where did you get that information?
But before that, you raised an issue na wala na siya sinasabi sa mga tweet niya. But you're forgetting that VP Leni has her spokesperson, right? And this spokesperson keeps releasing statements comparing the president with the vice president. Sinasabi niya na eto si Lenny distributing relief goods while you are there, just in Malacanang. And then yung anak niya pa nag-text na tulog pa. Yung mga ganon. In addition dun sa mga lumalabas sa social media. O hindi ba, may problema ka na doon. Pangalawa, you asked me about saan ba nanggaling yun? As I explained already, in fact, I texted her. But I understand, she is saying na wala akong pinadala. But nandito sa, unless she changed her number. That statement of mine, actually, it was not a statement. It was a reaction on a particular message I read on air between Casanova, former president,
Arnel, yes, DCDA.
and Secretary Delphine Lorenzana. Because Secretary Lorenzana was reacting on a post he made. Because sabi niya, we should help BP Lenny because she needs support.
Mhm.
She has the mandate, especially because President Duterte has lost or is incapacitated or has
Yes.
no longer capacity to perform as president. So nag-react si Secretary Delphine. Sabi niya, that's offensive. That's an insult to us. You make it appear na yan na nagtatrabaho kami, wala. Tapos, he enumerated several steps, yung mga pinadala niya mga teams, mga helicopter, choppers, relief and everything. Ang haba-haba. Enumerate niya sa text. And then, sabi naman ng isa, but VP Lenny is distributing relief goods. Sabi naman ni Secretary Delphine, sabi niya, oh yes, sabi niya, she rode a C-130 going to Catandanes with those relief goods. So nung mabasa ko yun, nagulat ako kasi I've been praising VP Lenny in my program. Sinasabi ko palagi na okay ang ginagawa mo. Ang ayaw ko lang, when you make it appear na parang ikaw lang nagtatrabaho. Yun ang ayaw ko. Pero pinupuri ko siya, keep on doing that. But sabi ko don't tell media what you're doing. Kasi kung talagang tumutulong ka, word spreads around fast. They will tell us kung anong ginagawa mo. Pupunta ka pa lang, may media ka na. Tapos papakita mo yung mga ginagawa mo. And then you make comments. Kung ano yung problema. Ganito, nagre-reklamo si ganito. Ganyan. Para bang walang ginagawa. How can she compete with the huge resources of the government? Ang dami-dami lang ginawa. And then, nung nag-comment ako, sabi ko, yan, lumalabas ng totoo. Kasi nung mabasa ko nga yan, sabi ko, all the while, I thought you went there on your own. Sabi ko, hindi pala. Para palang lalabas yan, ikaw pa nagdala ng relief goods. Yun ang statement ko. But, after my show, kasi I have another show doon sa DCRJ TV, may nag-text sa akin, sabi niya, may statement coming from the camp of Lenny disputing your statement or your opinion or your description. Di, sabi ko, so nakita ko, hinanap ko sa online news. So I called up and texted Secretary Lorenzana. Sabi ko sa kanya, Del, sabi ko, VP Lenny is disputing that she rode in a C-130 plane. Sabi ko, can you kindly check the information given to you? So, sabi niya, okay. Yun ang binigay sa aking information. So, after a few minutes, nag-text back siya. Sabi niya, Sal, sorry. Sabi niya, it appears now that that information was wrongly fed to me.
Mm.
O, di sabi ko naman sa kanya, immediately, kasi nagpo-programa ako during the break, nung mabasa ko yung text niya na hindi pala totoo, nag-apologize kagad ako on air. Sabi ko, nagbigay ako ng background and then sinabi ko sa kanya, sa audience na, I'm sorry about this, pero nag-explain ako. And then after that, sabi ko during the break naman, tinawagan ko siya. Sabi ko, Del, can you please verify again? Ano ba talaga nangyari dito? So, after a while, he sent a report coming from PAF. Di sinabi naman ng report, sabi niya, Sir, at no instance did VP Lenny use an aircraft, so on. And then sabi niya, but sir, on November 3, 2020, sabi niya, Yui Chopper, sumakay doon yung mga relief goods ni VP Lenny. So actually, it's not a false info. More, sa tingin ko, ang nangyari, parang siguro, sinabihan si Secretary Lorenzana na ginamit ni VP Lenny yung aircraft, and dating sa kanya, ginamit, sumakay. Pero actually pala, relief goods ang ginamit.
Yes. Okay.
In any case,
Ako naman,
Secretary,
sir, ang
Secretary,
tanong ko, sir, excuse lang. Sir, ito lang tanong ko. No? You're saying in effect that it's really not so much VP Lenny that makes those comments as her PR people. So my question is, why would the president himself be reacting to statements made by the PR people of the vice president and on a nationally televised speech at the heels of a major calamity? Isn't that, a bit unpresidential? To say
No,
the least?
I beg to disagree, Luchi. You know why? Because yung PR na sinasabi mo is the official spokesperson of VP Lenny. So, she is speaking for the principal. And VP Lenny has not disputed any statement released by the spokesperson. O di
So you're
sabihin,
talking about
position.
Attorney
well,
Barry
actually,
Gutierrez,
sir, I mean, let me clarify, sir. I mean, as far as that's concerned, VP Lenny has categorically denied. Categorically, if anybody said that, the vice president has categorically said, I have nothing to do with nasaan ng Pangulo, the hashtag nasaan ng Pangulo. I will never do that. That is disputing it. In any case, sir, this is my question. And for the record, as you said kanina po, tama po yung sinabi nyo, Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, for the record, has not only taken back that story, he has apologized to Vice President Lenny Robredo. But the other question on people's minds is, going to Luchi's point, nasa gitna tayo ng kalamidad, ang daming problema. Can't everything just be treated on good faith and at face value? I mean, you yourself said na parang bakit siya nakikipag-compete? Where is that coming from? Why can't people just help and let everybody help? And then that's what people are asking. Why does it have to come from a place of bad faith?
Okay, one, what you said that she categorically denied. She denied that she has nothing to do with the where are you, di ba? Yung hashtag.
Nasaan ang Pangulo?
But she has not disputed the statements made by the spokesperson.
Sir, Attorney
Hindi naman siya
Gutierrez,
nagdi-deny doon.
sir, an
Another
hour
thing.
ago, Attorney
Teka,
Gutierrez
another
denied
thing.
that.
Another thing. Doon sa where are you, hindi naman yun question of concern about the health of the president. Kumusta si presidente? Yung question kantsaw yun nasaan ka ba? Matalang na dito sa VP Lenny, tatrabaho, ikaw naman, wala. Okay. Now, she reacted to my opinion based on a wrong info, which I thought was totally correct, but yung pala half correct lang. Hindi naman false Pero yung relief goods, hindi na doon. Sa kanya yon. Okay. Nagre-react siya doon kasi wrong. Di ba? Okay yon. So I apologize. But ang tanong ko naman sa kanya, if you're reacting to any wrong information, ba't naman hindi ka nag-react? Nung mabasa mo yung mga komentaryo about the president na walang ginagawa, nasa Malacanang na walang ginagawa, natutulog o whatever, maling information din yun, di ba? Dapat,
Yes, sir.
alam mo naman, he was
Yes, sir.
attending
Granted,
the
sir.
summit. Di ba? Merong ASEAN summit. And she
Yes, sir.
knew that. O bakit hindi siya nag-comment doon? Na,
Yes, sir. Pero, sir,
tatrabaho si Presidente.
VP spokesman, sir, VP spokesman is now saying, at least an hour ago, he tweeted na he has nothing to do with yung nasaan ang Pangulo hashtag. And sabi nga niya, kung meron kayong ebidensya, meron kayong screen capture, go ahead and show it because I had nothing to do with it, sabi niya. So, there's also a denial coming from her spokesman. So, again po, we'll have to ask you that
Pagpalagay
again.
na natin. O,
Saan
sige,
po
nandun.
galing,
O,
ano
sige.
po yung sinabi
nandun
exactly?
ako. O, let us assume na wala siyang kinalaman doon. Ang pinupunta natin dito is they use that hashtags. Ginamit nila yon against the president. Sinakyan nila. They were politicizing the distribution of relief goods.
Sorry, sir, when you say
what
they,
way,
who are you
sir?
referring to, sir? Who are you
In
referring
what
to?
way?
Ano?
Who are you referring to when you say they sinakyan nila.
Well, hindi siyempre yung kampo niya, yung kanyang
Yeah,
spokesperson.
But the next question,
Paano po?
sir, I mean, if
Pero
you're giving
nag-deny na nga daw, sir.
if you are acknowledging that, let's say hindi ginamit yung hashtag, and let's say and now you're saying you're giving it the benefit of doubt now. Let's sabihin hindi na ginamit. Then in what way are you saying na ginamit nila yung hashtag? In what way are you saying
O hindi ba,
ginamit nila to criticize?
basahin mo yung statement ng spokesperson niya. Nakalagay doon na nagdi-distribute si VP Lenny, pero nasaan si Presidente? Nandiyan lang sa Malacanang. Okay. Pinalalabas niya na walang ginagawa si Presidente. He was in attendance ng ASEAN Summit and then nagpaalam pa siya para lumipad at tingnan kung anong nangyayari doon sa mga nabaha. O, hindi ba?
Sir, could you cite the time or could you cite the date when that statement was made? Because that is being denied by the spokesman.
Hindi.
I'm afraid lang po kasi it's being he said, she said. It's becoming a he said, she said.
Nasa dyaryo yun eh. Nasa dyaryo. Binasa ko pa nga kanina sa programa ko eh. I was reading his statement. And even reporters who interviewed me was reading that. Pinareact nga nila ako eh. Sir, ano masasabi niyo rito? Sabi ni ganito, ganyan. May VP Lenny, di-dispute. Si Presidente, nandiyan lang sa Malacanang. So, yun ang nakakong problema eh. Yung spokesperson niya, hindi naman dinideny ni VP Lenny yung mga sinasabi niya. Ibig sabihin, una mo spokesperson ka nga. Hindi alam ng principal mo.
But again, I mean, sorry to belabor the point, sir, but I mean, just to hone in on something that you said, sabi nyo, nabasa nyo sa dyaryo. You didn't actually see this on the Twitter feed of the spokesperson
How's that?
of the Vice President.
Okay.
You didn't actually, if I understand you correctly, you said nabasa nyo sa dyaryo, nakita nyo sa
It
isang
was
news
said-
site.
I read it
You
in
didn't
the
actually see it because I'm looking at the Twitter feed of the spokesperson right now, and frankly, I'm going back quite far off, and I am not seeing any kind of tweet to that effect. In fact, what he has been tweeting is yung mga message ni Vice President na saying na sa panahon ng matinding sakuna, dapat lahat tulong-tulong, lahat welcome. There is no contest whatsoever. So we just want to hone in on your, because you keep asserting that if it wasn't the Vice President, it was a spokesperson. But just going back to Ed's point, and just to clarify lang po, sir, you're citing something that you read in news site, but you did not actually see this on the tweet, as you said, of the spokesperson.
It was sent to me, apart from reading it in the news. That particular tweet or statement of the spokesperson was sent to me by one of the reporters.
Ako naman, sir, I really go back to, the fact that the president spent so much time on this issue in his televised speech. You were saying that you disagree that that's unpresidential. But, if you talk to anybody, whether it's people on the opposition side or even some of the supporters of President Duterte, the general impression is wag nang pag-aksayahan sana yung ganyang batuhan ng sisihan or whoever is giving the better relief. Don't you think that statements like those of the president actually really distract people from the main issue or the main resolution of an issue at hand, in this case a crisis? I mean,
First, I
why is
disagree.
he wasting his time making statements inflammatory at that? That's really not going to, help the situation any. In fact, it's several steps back, toward a resolution of what should be immediate relief of a situation.
First, I disagree with what you said na if you generally, yan ang comment ng tao. Iba ang nababasa kong mga pinapadala sa akin comment. Ang nababasa ko, huwag mo nang pansinin niya si VP Lenny. Talagang
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the point, no?
Sinasabi mo,
Huwag
ang
nang
general
pansinin.
comment, ang general,
Kasi nga,
wait.
pag-aaksaya ng panahon,
Sandali.
di ba?
Kasi
Yeah.
may sinabi ka kanina na ang general impression is mali yung sinabi ni Presidente.
No. It's not that. Ang general
Yeah.
impression is, bakit pinag-aaksayahan ng panahon, sir?
Bakit naman, sige, sasagutin
Yeah.
kita. Bakit naman
Oo.
hindi mag-aaksaya yung panahon kung sinisiraan ka? You mean to tell me you deprive the President to respond back to anything said against him in his governance?
Kaya nga, sir, babalik ako dun sa kayo na rin na nagsabi, kahit kanyo, sinasabi sa presidente, wag niyo nang pansinin yun, wag niyo nang pansinin yun. Ako rin, yun din ang tanong ko, bakit ba kasi pinapansin pa ng Pangulo yun? Bakit kailangan pagtuunan ng pansin yun at gatungan pa ng kung ano-ano, sir, no? And naroon na rin ako, sir, marami rin talagang bumabati ko sa presidente dahil, halimbawa, how do you justify naman the sex jokes also on national TV, no? Paano mo ba ang usapan ninyo dyan? I mean, you have been spokesperson at one point, no? How do you process a reaction like that? And it's a natural reaction, no? This is the president of the Philippines, and he's making sex jokes in a very serious forum where we're supposed to be talking about how to give help where help is needed. I mean, sir, how do you handle a situation like that, really? How do you feel about that?
Ang sinasabi mo sex joke, yung in reference dun sa classmate niya, dun sa during the situation.
Yes, it was
Lucci
and it was
Lucci.
yeah.
Si Presidente, mula nung naging Presidente, yun ang estilo. Hindi ba? For every speech niya, either meron siyang binabanatan o nagbibiro siya. Ganon yung style niya, nagpapatawa.
Secretary, I won't ask about the jokes, but I will ask about the innuendo. And this was not in the context of the joke of a friend.
Anong innuendo?
This was in the context of this was in the context of threatening the Vice President. Nung sinabi niya na if you have ambitions, your reputation will be and then this is innuendo. Certainly, I will say that this is how it came to me. It's innuendo. It's misogynistic innuendo. When the President says, ikaw, saka umuuwi, ba't ka ginagabi? Saka nagtatagal na bahay. That's innuendo. So, and so I won't even go to the...
Yan ang dating sa'yo. Kasi binibigyan mo ng malisyosong...
So, sir, ano ibig sabihin nun?
Ano ibig sabihin nun?
Kasi sinasabi ni Presidente, sa gabi, ako nagtatrabaho. Hindi ako natutulog eh. Hindi ba? Night person nga siya. Kaya tinatanong ikaw, anong ginagawa mo? Anong oras ka?
No.
Kasi sabi mo,
Sir, ang sabi po niya, iba-ibang bahay ang inuwian niya.
Hindi lang yan. The context for that was precisely within the statement of the President na kung ikaw may ambisyon, you will regret it. Sisirain ko ang reputation mo, wawaswasan kita, at tatanungin ko among other things. For example, saan ka umuwi? Pagka ginagabi, saan ka nagtatagal? That was not, the context was not, I'm working, what are you doing until late at night?
Yung statement na yon, you can put meanings to it. Kung ano man ang para sa inyo, conveniente sa inyo o makakabuti sa inyong whatever. Kanya-kanya, sa akin, ang impression ko iba. Kasi nga, she keeps on saying na she has been distributing goods, hindi na siya natutulog, gabing-gabi na, nagpupuyat. Kaya sa akin, nung sinabi ni Presidente yon, parang kinukumpare niya, ako nagtatrabaho ako, gabi-gabi, ikaw.
Sir, I'm sorry, that's quite a stretch. Ito po ang sinabi ng Pangulo. Ikaw, noong gabi, anong oras ka umuwi? Isang bahay ka lang ba? Dalawang bahay? Nagtatanong lang ako kay congressman ka? Kaninong bahay ka natagalan? That does not sound like what you're saying right now. I'm sorry, but that certainly does not sound like what you're saying right now. Unless that's an entirely different spin you're trying to put on us.
Yung sinasabi mong bahay ng congressman, hindi ko alam yung tungkol doon sa bahay ng congressman. Baka ikaw may alam. Tell me.
Wala naman nga kami binabanggit.
That's why I'm asking you kasi you're trying to put the context na he's only asking if the Vice President is busy with doing other jobs. Now we're talking about something else altogether na ako yung... So really, what does this mean? Tell us.
Teka muna. Kung nagdi-distribute ka ng relief goods, bago ka maka-distribute ng relief goods, kailangan mo ng mga donors, hindi ba?
So it comes from the congressman.
Kailangan magtrabaho ka rin. Either pupuntahan mo yung mga kaibigan mo, whether congressman yan, senador yan, mayaman yan, bilyonaryo yan. Siyempre, kailangan mo silang kausapin. Either ka sa telepono o pupuntahan mo sa bahay. Di ba? Kung baga, nangangalap ka ng mga relief goods eh.
Sir, yun po ang ibig niya sabihin doon. Yun ang ibig sabihin.
Pag binigyan mo ng malisyosong meaning, talagang makakahanap ka ng lahat na
No,
uri
but why do you even question that if that's the intent and you're just trying to gather donations? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Why do you even challenge her to answer
Ang
that?
sinasabi ko
I
lang,
mean, if I went by your argument that that's the context in which the president actually said that, diba? What's wrong with...
Sir, I'll be frank with you, sir. It does sound like you're just pulling our legs here. That does not sound like the context of the president here. I mean, that sounds like it's pretty far out.
It's not, I'm not saying that's the context of what the president said. What I said to you is that was my impression. Kuha mo, yun ang tingin ko dun sa kanyang sinabi. In relation dun sa trabaho niya at sa trabaho ni VP Lenny at sa mga statements niyang nagpupuyat siya, gabi, naghahanda ng mga relief goods. Sa akin lang yun.
Well, kaya nga, sir,
sincerely, sir,
babalik
that
nga
was your
ako
impression.
doon. Yeah.
Hindi niya
Well, that's why ako bumabalik nga ako doon, sir, sa surely you know that that's not the impression that most people will get out of a statement like that. So, I'm just wondering why you...
Luchi, speculation yung sa'yo eh. You're speculating. All of you are speculating.
So we're basing it on the statement of the president. He prefaced it and he followed through on it in the context of, I will ruin your reputation. That was the president's context, quite explicitly. No working around that. The context was very clear. You will regret it. He said, this will be your nightmare.
Kaya mo na, sa totoo lang, kung tutuusin, hindi natin alam exactly kung anong... Diba? Pero ako, since, kasi ako, as a lawyer, binibase ko yung kung ano yung impression ko sa isang tao in relation to another. Kaya yan ang impression na he was referring dun sa trabaho niya, sa mga relief goods. Kasi nga, yun ang pagkakilala ko kay VP Lenny. At yun ang mga sinasabi niya kasi. Tapos ito naman si Presidente, sinasabing, hindi siya natutulog. Nagtatrabaho siya ng gabi. Totoo naman pati. O, yun.
Yeah.
Pero sa totoo lang, wala tayong alam exactly kung ano niyang ibig sabihin. If we will be speculating, dun lang tayo. Speculation.
We are fortunate to have with us Vice President Lenny Robredo joining us live from Bicol. Vice President Robredo, thank you po for joining us. And welcome to the Chiefs.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ed. Happy birthday.
Hello, Ma'am Vicky.
Yeah.
Well, ma'am, we do acknowledge that you've been very, very busy, not just this week, but for the last 2 weeks. But like it or not po, the narrative that is being sold to a lot of first responders on the ground, and here I'm talking about the people from the AFP and the PNP, is that you have belittled their rescue and relief efforts versus the typhoon. I'm talking about the narrative that has been sold to a lot of the first responders. In other words, your words are being passed off as criticism of the response of these first responders. I say that because I am friends with a lot of PNP and AFP personnel, and I do see a lot of their posts and the posts of their friends. And that is how it comes across to some of them at least. But it is a compelling and emotional narrative. So I'm wondering, are you aware of this, and how do you plan to address this narrative?
Ako, Ed, I'm aware of it. In fact, it has been brought to my attention by friends who also have friends in these organizations. But it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate in the sense that they're believing the kind of narrative that is being pushed, and that narrative is not true at all. In fact, if you get back to the tweets that I've been posting the night of Friday, I think it was Friday.
Yes.
It was actually in response to the many distress calls that we've been receiving. Ako binalikan ko yon, Ed, Lucci, and Ami. I was in Cainta that night. I was in Cainta. I was visiting. I was giving relief goods to evacuees in Cainta. And I left Cainta at about 10 o'clock. Gutom na kami. We dropped by a Chowking branch in Cainta. And that was when I saw the many tweets of people asking for help. This was not just on Twitter, but also on Facebook. So yung sa akin, my initial reaction was, hanapin yung mga threads kung may sumasagot ba. Kung may sumasagot ba na, alam mo yun, I think the more important response there was anyone in government who has command, who would answer the distress calls. Parang we heard you, we're doing something about it, we're doing everything we can to save you, wala. So yung sa akin, as early as Wednesday, wala pa nangyayari yung Cagayan. As early as Wednesday, I created a team already in my office because that was the night where we were also receiving a lot of distress calls in Ragay, Camarines Sur. That was Wednesday night. And, you know, I was in Manila. I was feeling very helpless. A lot of my kababayans were asking help that they be rescued. I formed an emergency team in the office. And the instruction was to look for anyone on the ground who can help them. So yung team namin, kanya-kanyang reach out sa uniformed personnel, pati nga BFP, pati MD, RRMC, lahat, pati media sa Bicol, AFP, lahat namin tinatawagan. And the only reason was to ask help. To rescue people who have been crying out distress calls. And on
MVP, I'll pounce on the word helpless. I mean, you're the vice president of a country. It's interesting to hear you say that you are helpless. Can you expound on that helplessness a bit more? Because you're the vice president. If you feel that way, it's either they're persecuting you and making you, feel that at the very least they're not giving you support, or what is the basis for saying that you feel helpless?
Alam mo, Lucci, ang reality naman talaga, I have been outside the Colombo for so long. Yung sa akin, bringing relief goods is easier because it is easy to ask for help from private organizations. But when it comes to rescuing people who need help, mahirap yon kasi you have to depend on government, you have to depend on people on the ground, and you're not there. It would have been different if I was here in Bicol because it would have been easier for me to ask help from anyone. But because I was in Quezon City at that time, parang yung feeling of helplessness. So sa amin talaga, yung small team na binuo namin, talaga instruction, hanapin yung lahat na pwede makatulong. And the only reason is that people were asking for help. And
so do you have access? Are you saying you do not have access to, say, the Department of Social Welfare, the NDRRMC, even the military? Wala ba kayong ganong access or, in a word, powers?
Ako, Lucci, ang experience namin, with AFP, we don't have any problems. Kasi para sa akin, every time we asked for assistance, every time we asked for help in the past, they've been very, very gracious in providing assistance to us. With the national government agencies, it depends on the agency. Pero yung experience namin, mas welcoming sa amin yung mga regional and provincial offices. Kadalasan kasi naalala ko when Secretary Piñol was still Secretary of DA, ang dami-dami naming sulat na pinapadala. Wala man lang ni isang acknowledgement. We have been asking for help. I've tried arranging meetings with some of the officials for us to discuss problems that we encounter on the ground, pero wala. So dependent
Wow.
sa agency. Halimbawa, DOTR. Yung DOTR, we have been, alam ito ni Secretary Togade, we have been asking for a meeting with him to discuss many of the issues that we come across with on the ground. Hindi kami napapagbigyan. Pero yung sa akin, sa amin naman, our attitude is always not to cry about it, but to look for other ways where, we can ask help. And our experience is the regional and provincial offices have been more welcoming, more cooperative with us. So
Pwede po kayong, Madam Vice President, if you don't mind. So pwede po kayong dumiretso sa regional offices. I mean, you're running up against this at the cabinet level officials, but you're saying you could go straight to the regional offices. And I'm curious also, what makes Secretary Delphine Lorenzana different? What makes your relationship with the military different?
Ako ang experience ko, the military has always been very professional. In fact, kahit ako outside the Colombo, parang consistently, the only agency who has been inviting me to official functions is the AFP. And I think it is because they're very professional. They're not political. Yung sa amin, whenever we seek help, halimbawa, our communities are most often the farthest, the smallest ones. Halimbawa, in Marawi, in Lanao del Sur, madalas kami doon. Halimbawa, in Basilan we go, in Zamboanga we go. And if we need assistance with AFP, we have not encountered any difficulties with them at all. So yung sa akin, ang experience ko over the past 4 years, they have been very, very professional. So para sa akin, the controversial night of Friday, I never called the AFP. Hindi ako tumawag sa AFP. Yun yung parang misconception that I was ordering uniformed men around. Hindi ganun yun. Yung team namin, yung nagsisik ng help. And they were amongst the ones na hinihingian namin ng tulong. In fact, I felt like because no one was assuring people who were asking for help, no one was assuring them that help was coming. Ako talaga yung sabi na eto yung balita namin, papunta na doon. In fact, one platoon was already there the night before. Meron ng ibang augmentation, pero hindi sila nakakalusot sa Alcala. If you look at my tweets, it was all like that. And it was all on Twitter. I felt like baka meron din sa Facebook na asking for help. So ang ginawa ko, sinamarize ko lahat. Yung nasa Twitter. I posted that on Facebook. And the AFP reposted my post.
So is this how hard it is for you? Kasi syempre ma'am, if this were a company, I would imagine that if I were the second in line and I read something among the social media posts of employees that, such a department or unit needs help, I would go through the communication channels, right? But it seemed to me that night that you were referring to, all you had by way of communication was social media, that you couldn't get in touch with anyone in government to seek help, official help. Ganun ho ba yun?
Hindi ako mismo, Lucci, but our team, yung sinasabi ko, the team I formed, they were in touch with many people on the ground. In fact, you were trying to get in touch with the local government unit. You were trying to get in touch with, AFP. You were trying to get in touch with the Coast Guard. You were trying to get in touch with PNP. And that night, they were all very, very helpful. Kaya nga nagduda ako kasi parang the following day, biglang nag-turn around. Ako sabi ko baka mga napagalitan. Baka
Tanong ko lang, it's a difficult situation because you've been in position for 4 years na. Ito ba yung nararanasan nyo? We've had many disasters. Ito ba yung nararanasan nyo? Is this typical cooperation that you get from government offices? Simula nung nag-umpisa kayo sa pwesto?
Ako, with disasters, I think this is the first time that we needed to seek their help as far as responding to distress calls was concerned. Kasi in the past, we never had any problems with relief operations, rehabilitation efforts after disasters. We never had any problems. Parang this was the first time that there were distress calls coming from people and there was a need for us to respond. And
In the past 4 years, meron ba kayong nararamdaman na certain areas or activities in government na off-limits sa Office of the Vice President? Because you're the number 2 official in the land, para kayong Deputy Commander-in-Chief. Did you ever feel na meron certain areas na off-limits sa inyo?
Marami, Ami. Marami na off-limits kami. Actually, hindi nila ako kino-consider na bahagi. Hindi nila ako kino-consider na bahagi ng pamahalaan. Pero I'll be very honest. Ang feeling ko, it's not that they don't want to, pero parang may pag-alangan na baka it will not be, parang some people will not look kindly on them if they become too accommodating accommodating of me. So,
Madam Vice President, when you say some people, I mean, I think we're all thinking of precisely the same people. But to be fair, when you say some people, does that automatically start with President Duterte or not necessarily?
Ako not necessarily, Robbie. I think it's the people around him actually. Who do not look kindly on people who are, who are very accommodating of our requests. Kasi pag hindi naman sila pinupuna, wala namang problema eh. Halimbawa, in the past, the AFP has been very, very helpful as far as our operations are concerned. Halimbawa, yung COVID, yung pagpapadala ng mga PPE sets, we have been utilizing our private channels, but there have been a lot of instances where yung mga PPE sets namin, lalo na papuntang Mindanao, sinasama sa mga mission flights, wala naman nagkaroon ng problema. I think nagkaroon lang ng problema ngayon kasi it was very public and baka hindi nila yung nagustuhan.
I think when we had Secretary Panelo guest the other night, ang main beef nila is how you tend to, publicize your relief efforts at the cost of making government look like they have not done anything. Would you like to share with us your thoughts on it? Kasi parang yun na nga, he was even citing the case of a cabinet official who has spent millions of his personal money to help whoever that is. He never named, But he was comparing that official to you. Na your PR team daw is so very active in making it look like you're doing more work than the government.
Ako medyo nakakatawa yun actually, Luchi. But it is unfortunate that they're looking at it that way. Unang-una, they're very much aware that ako, if I was spending my own money, I don't have to be very transparent about it. Yung accountability sa akin lang. Pero alam ng lahat na I'm spending private money. I'm spending private money and itong mga nagdo-donate sa amin, nagdo-donate ito because they become aware of what we're doing.
Transparency.
They become aware of what we're doing on social media. We don't have media following us around. I think you know that. We don't have media following us around. Ang sa amin, lahat namin dinodocument. Lahat namin dinodocument because our only currency in what we're doing is trust. Yung sa amin, we need to show our donors that we're spending their money, they intend to, parang based on their intentions when they donated their whether it's money or their goods to us. Sa amin, napaka-importante sa amin na well-documented lahat. Kahit nga hindi ako kasama sa operations, we're documenting that and we're posting that on Facebook. Yung sa akin, bakit parang tinitingnan nila na nagko-compete kami?
Madam Vice President, tatakbo po ba kayong presidente sa 2022?
Ako, I cannot say that for now, Robbie. Pag iniisip ko ngayon, parang napaka-imposible. In the sense na wala naman akong pera. Alam natin na to run for the presidency, I would need a lot of campaign funds to be able to put up a decent campaign. And 2022 is different from 2016 in the sense na yung 2016 meron, yung partido namin malaki pa, malakas, may resources. Ngayon wala yon. So napakahirap sabihin na oo. Pero in another sense, hindi ko din masabi na oo o hindi. Kasi historically parang pinakita sa atin na the presidency is really destiny. No one can really prepare enough for it. Parang para sa akin, kung nakataga yun para sa'yo, mapapasayo yun. So para sa akin, it's parang exercise in futility to discuss the presidency now. Kasi sa akin, yung the times that I ran, parating last minute eh. I never planned for them. When I ran for Congress, I was saying over my dead body, I will not enter politics, but I did run. When I ran for the vice presidency, 1 month before I filed my certificate of candidacy, I was so sure that I wouldn't run, but yet I ran. So parang mahirap sabihin ngayon kasi baka lunukin ko na naman yung sasabihin ko. Pero if the basis would be the preparedness as far as resources is concerned, wala ako nun.
How do you feel about the fact that people now think that there is no strong opposition heading into election year eve? That the opposition right now is not really making any headway in terms of popularity, with President Duterte garnering a 91% popularity vote. How do you feel about that kind of political situation, as it were, being the head of the LP?
Ako, Luchi, to a very large extent, they are correct. They are correct in the sense that the opposition was not able to really put up a united front, a good fight as far as preparing for 2022 is concerned. Pero again, the lessons of history parang taught us that a lot of things can still happen in a year's time. Pwedeng merong mag-emerge na somebody na hindi pa pinag-uusapan ngayon. As I have said, when I ran for the vice presidency, siguro 1 year before that, no one was thinking of me. So marami pang pwedeng mangyari. Pwedeng wala sa tinitingnan ngayon. Biglang umusbong. It can always happen. So
But Madam Vice,
at this point nga,
Madam
Vice President, yun nga ang ini-impute ng Malacanang sa inyo, no? And nung nagsalita si Presidente, nagbitiw siya ng medyo masasakit na salita, no? And I know that it was based on certain premises for which Salsal Panelo and Delfin Lorenzana have already apologized to you. Pero sabi ng Malacanang, they see no need daw for the President himself to apologize. Kung sakasakali, ano bang feeling nyo? I know you haven't asked for it, but some people are saying na dapat mag-apologize din si Presidente sa inyo. Anong feeling nyo about a presidential apology sa mga nabitawan niyang salita?
Ako, Ami, honestly, I don't think it's forthcoming. Knowing the President, I don't think that he will ever apologize kahit pa false yung premise. Pero yung sa akin kasi, I wouldn't lose sleep over it. Lalo na kasi parang nangyari ito at a time na dapat nagkakaisa tayo. Nangyari ito at a time na grabe yung crisis na pinagdadaanan ng bansa natin. Parang para sa akin, nakakahiya naman sa tao kung ito yung pag-uusapan natin. So yung sa akin, while I have exerted some effort in dispelling the false information that has been going around, para sa akin, I don't want to lose focus on the work that I'm doing now. Sobrang grabe yung inaasikaso ng aming opisina. We're not done with our COVID-19 operations yet, and the 3 typhoons. Grabe din yung naasikaso. Para sa akin, at may panahon para pag-usapan yung politika, pero sana naman wag ngayon. Hindi ko I cannot control what the president and his men parang are the narrative they're pushing. Pero yung sa akin lang, ako I don't want to lose my focus.
Madam Vice President,
Because children have been dragged into the discussion.
Si Sal Panelo daw nag-apologize. Nag-text sa inyo ng apology si Sal Panelo. Did you reply to it? Did you reply to it?
No, I haven't read it if he texted me, but I read the article where he said he already texted me. Pero ako lang, when I read the article, parang sorry, not sorry. Parang sinasabi niya, okay, mali yung information ko na sumakay pala siya sa C-130, pero yung mga goods niya sinakay pa din ng military. But that was not the point. The point was, his imputation was very malicious. Ang sinabi niya, sumakay ako sa C-130 kasi gusto kong mag-free load. Gusto kong mag-free load sa goods ng DSWD kasi gusto kong palabasin na akin yon. Alam mo yon? If he will ask for an apology, ikumpletuhin yun. Parang napilitan siya kasi he was confronted with the truth already. Pero he was not really apologetic about it.
Pero yun nga ang problema Madam Vice President. Talagang itinuturo nga nila yung eleksyon eh. In fact, yung warning, I will go back to the statement of the President. Warning niya, pag ikaw tatakbo, waswasin kita dyan. I know that if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Pero sa ngayon, ano yung pinaka biggest concern niyo kung sakasakali na pwedeng gawin sa inyo ng gobyerno?
Amin naman, nakita naman natin. Nakita naman natin kung ano yung ginawa. Anong ginawa kay Senator Laila de Lima, ano yung ginawa kay Maria Ressa, ano yung ginawa sa ABS-CBN. So anything is possible. Pero yung sa akin kasi, with the warnings, ang parate lang tanong, would that stop me from continuing with what I have been doing? And certainly the answer is no. Yung sa akin nagtatrabaho ako and kung nagagalit sila na nagtatrabaho ako, hihinto ba ako magtrabaho dahil nagagalit sila? Again, the answer is no. Pero yung sa akin, yung pag-threaten ng 2022, para sa akin, ano ba naman? Nasa gitna tayo ng mga kalamidad, 2022 yung iniisip nyo. Yung para sa akin, kung iisipin ko yung 2022, gusto bang sabihin, magsuslow down ako para hindi ko sila, alam mo yon, hindi ko ma-ruffle yung kanilang feathers. Parang palagay ko unfair naman yun sa tao.
Yes, ma'am. Pero ma'am, from your point of view po, what do you think is their perception of your vulnerability? Where are you most vulnerable? What do you think they think to be your most vulnerable spot?
Ako hindi ko alam, Ed. I can't speak for them. Pero tingin ko kasi, ang tingin nila sa akin, ito mahina, babae, madaling takutin. I think yun yung mga nasa isip kasi nakita nyo naman na kung paano magsalita against me. And this is not the first time. This is not the first time that the president threatened me. This is not the first time that the president lambasted me. Ilang beses niya na ako sinabihan na walang alam, bobo, incompetent, in not so many words. Pero sa akin nga, Ed, yung pinakapunto, hindi ko naman makokontrolan yung sinasabi niya. Pero ang makokontrolan ko yung ginagawa ko. And yung ginagawa ko,
may particular insinuation po yung Pangulo when he was talking the other night. In fact, we asked Secretary Panelo about it, and he gave us he gave us a very creative explanation. So I'm wondering po, would you care to address the insinuations of the president?
Ako kasi hindi ko hindi ko napanood yung press con. Ang awareness ko lang kung ano yung nababasa ko. Ang awareness ko kung ano nababasa ko sa mga news items. Halimbawa, marami siyang sinabi na I was ordering the military around, na nagkukumpetensya ako sa kanya. Ano pa ba yung sinasabi niya? The last
part po.
I think the last part that he was saying na umuuwi ako sa ibang bahay.
Opo.
And para sa akin, sobrang bastos. I think it was a very misogynistic remark. And that can only happen against women politicians like myself. Hindi yun mangyayari sa mga lalaki.
Mhm.
And I think he is taking advantage of the fact that I am a woman. And yung pambabastos is something that I will not allow. Kaya nga sumagot agad ako. Sumagot agad ako kasi if he thinks he can get away with it, nagkakamali siya. Yung sa akin...
Yesterday po, si Secretary Roque. Opo. And
Hindi.
yesterday po, si Secretary Roque also brought in your kids.
Yes. Yun nga, Ed, eh. Parang yung ating gobyerno has already come down to this. Ganito na ba yung level ng governance na pinag-uusapan na hindi ko alam kung ano yung naka-instigate sa kanila for them to stoop down to this level. Alam mo yun? Parang I was just doing my job. I am being accused of competing with them. Parang para sa akin, hello. Bakit paano ako makikipagkompetensya na I have very limited mandate, the entire bureaucracy, all the resources are at your disposal. Paano ko makakayang makipagkompetensya? Parang minasama yung trabaho ko. The fact that I was just doing my job, pag tiningnan nila, ewan ko lang if any of you are familiar with what I have been doing for the past 4 years, wala namang bago. Wala namang bago. What I'm doing now is not extraordinary compared to what I have been doing since 2016. We have been working with the communities in the last 4 years. Yung ginagawa namin ngayon, responding lang naman. Merong accusation that I'm competing. And yun yung pinaka-premise ng pagkapikon. Yung para sa akin, mali yung accusation. Mali yung accusation and nakakalungkot na yung conversation parang sobrang baba na.